Hello everyone, John Maher here, and it's Thursday 21st of August 2025. This is your weekly Grass10 grazing management update. I suppose this week's story is a little different. We are now in the building phase of grass for the autumn period. But when we look at the pasture-based figures for the week gone by, there are, I suppose, two grave concerns sticking out. One, that average farm cover has not changed from last week, and we're supposed to be gaining week on week. So that's a concern. And I suppose the second one then is that, when you look at the southern coastal counties, and include places like South Tip, South Kilkenny, Southeast Leinster, and maybe other parts as well, the growth rate is well below average because of lack of rainfall. So this is having an impact on the figures. And we look at the figures for the week. The average farm cover for the week on dairy farms was 750 kilos, thereabouts. We grew 53 on average. We should be growing 65. The demand is 49, so not much change when you grow as much as you eat. And the average cover per livestock unit was about 230 when it should be about 260, 270 at this stage. What is notable too is that the silage has come into the diet on average on pasture base, and I suppose that's just a reflection of both poor growth and a reflection of not reaching the autumn targets that we generally set out. So people are not gaining. I suppose when you look at the dry matters then as well, just to add those two figures, Moore Park was 21, Johnstown was 25. You go further north and Grange is around 19, with Athenry about 16%. And that's kind of just reflective of the growth that we see and don't see in those regions. When you look at the average growth for last week, per county, it ranged between 41 to 74, but there are many farms, especially in the south, who grew less than 30, and even some grew less than 20. So there's concern there. And, when you look at the week ahead, the grass growth predictions range from about, mid-30s up to 70. So there's a twofold difference. Obviously, the lower growth rates are in the south and east, and the higher growth rates are further north and west. So that's a concern. And I suppose unless there's a big change in growth rates, many farms will struggle to build grass. Now, saying that, the predicted rainfall, which is heavily dependent on what's happening out in the Atlantic with Storm Erin, and normally, when you get those type of storms, that there is a tail end in them, and that can often bring a change in weather, and it can bring rainfall as well. So all the charts, the maps for the Grass10 newsletter this week will have a level of rainfall in them. Now, that's not coming midweek, that's coming well into the weekend and maybe early next week. So storms are storms, and they're hard to predict, but there may be some optimism in the rainfall pattern that might bring some level of change and bring growth back up to where it should be. I suppose the main message really at this stage for many is to assess where the farm is at in terms of grass supply, and then to assess the nitrogen fertiliser for every farm as well. When you look at the northern parts of the country, obviously the grass supply is a bit better there than compared to the south. But at this stage, we need to take stock now where we're at, and I suppose put plans in place to try and build grass a bit better than we have been for the last week or 10 days. The autumn grazing targets are there for any farm that's stocked around 3 or higher. They'll want 900 or 1,000 of a farm cover by early September, with a rotation length of about 28 to 30 days. Farms with low grass supply will struggle to get that, but they must start putting the farm into the right rotation length and try and hold farm cover. So we'll go through that in a little bit more detail in a sec. I suppose just to explain what we mean by rotation length, it's not so much rotation length looking back. It's like if you have 56 hectares and want a 28-day rotation length, then you should be grazing 2 hectares a day. Or if you're a 28-hectare farm, you should be grazing 1 hectare a day. So it's proportion to farm graze, not so much rotation looking back. If you were grazing more than 2 hectares out of 56 hectares, that means largely you're probably going too fast. And if you were grazing less, then you're going to be building grass. So I suppose holding for those with very low grass supply, which is about 30% of the farms on pasture base now, looking at the figures for last week, You must try and set a rotational into about 28 days. That's where you will be going forward to divide the farm up, fill the feed gap then. It will mean the use of strip wires and things like that to budget out the grass we have and try and hold farm cover at a minimum if you can. Especially with a more optimistic note, I suppose, with caution, but on rainfall. But look, it's a case of trying to focus on, the 6, 7 weeks ahead in terms of autumn build up and getting grass built up on the farm. Because once you get to the second, third week of September, most farms will eat more than they will grow. So that has to be a focus. And you know, running around the farm too quickly and running down the cover will bring challenges. I suppose unless you have maybe another tweak to the plan that could bring more feed into the system. For many, though, introducing more supplements will be part of trying to hold rotation length and holding farm cover. And feeding a forage, whether it's silage, high quality silage, zero graze grass, whatever the case may be, will generally have a much greater impact on reducing grass intake than feeding more concentrate. Now, both might require that. We also have to look at the demand side as well and removing surplus stock or cull animals off the farm. We're coming into the autumn period now. There are going to be cows that are hunting a calf. There are going to be cows that don't have a future on the farm. There are going to be cows that have cell counties, lameness issues, whatever other issues that they have, and maybe they should be removed off the platform and thereby increasing, grass allowance for those cows that are left. Some farmers are prepared to walk the roads a bit more to get, more access to grazing. That can help too. But it's really about taking action. I don't think there's any silver bullet here. It's a case of doing it, doing a little bit on the feed side and doing a little bit on the demand side with the cows that don't have a future on the farm. Talking about fertiliser then and fertiliser allowances, there are unfortunately some farms who have little or no fertiliser left, and they will have to look at making use of the collecting yard or watery slurry, making more use of the clover on the farm. And I'd also suggest that making use of K fertiliser is another source of, bringing grass growth onto the farm into the autumn. For some parts of the country, they're in their third level of drought, and we know that potash or K has a role in water regulation. It has a role in response to nitrogen, irrespective of where that nitrogen comes from, whether it's from the soil, from the clover plant, from slurry, from fertilizer. So, in a general sense, if people could spread a nitrogen with a K type product, something like 19-015 or 29-014, they would be that would be beneficial to grass production into the autumn. But I suppose the first thing is to look at what allowance you have left, and particularly where allowances are limited, an August application of fertilizer, whatever level that is, fertilizer nitrogen, will give a better response than September, and to keep that in mind. I suppose our last piece of business for the day then is to just to say a small bit about our feature farmer. We do on occasion feature dairy farms on that are farm on heavy land, which we've done in past few weeks. And this week's then farm is a beef farmer who does dairy calf to beef, and it's a partnership between Peter and Simon Byrne, who are based in Castledermot, County Kildare. They are the dry stock category winners of the Grass10 Farmer of the Year competition, and they're hosting a farm walk this Thursday evening in Castledermot. Now, I suppose the standout things for this farm is the weight gain they get off these dairy calf to beef animals off grass. Phenomenal performance. When you look at the figures on ICBF or Teagasc in terms of output per hectare, 1,500 kilograms of live weight and the amount of kilograms of live weight per livestock unit. It's very, very good, and it's driven largely by grass. There's about 700 kilos of meal fed to finish, both males, females, and you'll have Friesians, you'll have Angus crosses, Hereford crosses, and even some Limousin crosses. But the high weight gain from grass is what's impressive here, and the farm's ability to make use of clover, both white and red. And I think that has to be noted to both Peter and Simon. And most of this clover has been established mostly through seeding, and they're very active on that. And it's investing in grass, which is always going to give a high return and a fast rate of return compared to other investments. To build grass for the autumn, I suppose that the two lads have two tricks. One will be based around um, strategic use of fertiliser in the next week or two, and making use of clover. And I suppose the other one then is that the animals, the female animals that are forward, will be housed in September and finished before Christmas, and thereby increases the grass allowance left for the remaining animals. When you look at their weight gains for the last 10 weeks, the mature animals, or I suppose the 1 to 2s, if you want to call them that, gained zero 0.9 of a kilo per day in the last 10 weeks, and the younger animals gained 0.8. So impressive overall, and well done to both Peter and Simon. So to finish then, if you'd like to hear more from the Grass10 teams, you can subscribe to the weekly Grass10 newsletter, which is available on the Grass10 page on the Teagasc public website, and the link to the newsletter is also available in the description of this podcast. We'd like to thank all the people that support the Grass10 campaign, which are Grass and Agro, AIB, FBD, the Farmers Journal, and the Department of Agriculture. This has been your Grass10 update, and I will talk to you next week, and hopefully we will have receive some rain in the meantime. Best luck to all of you. Thank you.